All right, guys. Thanks for sticking around for the end of day webinar today. It's September 28th, Wednesday, 2016. Man, there's some real life back in the market today. We finally got a lot of good momentum behind some runners and some movement in the small caps again. So really excited for what the rest of this week is going to bring us. One thing I will say is I know that in the morning there was some good momentum behind a lot of these stocks, but in the afternoon, all the action was really on the short side. So again, I kind of mentioned this earlier, and if you can't get locates on some of these shorts, best thing to do is just ignore them, because just watching them's just going to frustrate you. So what I used to do is, if there was a stock I wanted to short and I couldn't short it, just take it off my screen and just completely forget about it, because it's not possible to short it. You just got to move on to the next stock that you can play. Unfortunately for long plays this afternoon, there was very few. In fact, really none except for Smith that I could see on that breakout through 240. JB did a good job letting us know about that one before it broke out, but I didn't play it on the long side. I actually did play it on the lower highs on the way back down. Again, it wasn't easy to borrow, but Trade Zero had shorts on basically everything I needed today. So yeah, I've been really happy with their quality of service so far, and the locates they're able to get me. So let's go over a couple of trades. The one I wanted to bring up was AVXL, because it really goes back to what we were talking about in the webinar yesterday. This was a super straightforward short play. Two things I'm really happy about with this trade today. One is that I recognize that with this stock, it's so notorious for getting early shorts frustrated and just works them out during the afternoon. We had a day where this ran, I think it was last week. It wasn't too long ago. Let's just see if I can get back to that chart. Yeah, everyone's short bias on it. It had a big spike off the open, and then it held and it grinded up all day, and then it put in new highs, and just enough to probably filter out most of the early shorts, and then late day it kind of fell off the map. So today, I stayed 100% patient on it. I didn't short it at all in the front of this move. I was starting to eye it up on this lower high, but I still waited for the VWAP break. And what I wanted to do was I wanted it to, like I mentioned on the stream today, I just wanted to see it retest that prior support. So we got into a channel, like I was mentioning yesterday, where we had a top, a bottom, and we're in a channel through the afternoon when this is like the lunchtime grind or chop, whatever you want to call it, where I tend to stay away from trades, but I try to spot ideas of where we can trade into 2 p.m. from these charts. This one broke down a little prematurely, which I think is a really weak sign. So what I actually did was I just waited for the bounce. I wanted it to retest 440. Pretty tight risk on it too. I was just looking for it to hold 440 over under. I had my order in at 439. It actually filled it, and the full order got filled at 439, and just didn't give me any trouble. I was kind of anticipating that it could grind up a little bit, maybe retest VWAP and put me like 5 or 10 cents out for a little bit, but just scooped me up. It rolled over. There was no short sell restriction on it, so I was able to smack the bid for more. As you guys know, a lot of the time I like to just get in with a partial size just to make sure my idea is correct, and as soon as my thesis is true and I feel good about it, I'll smack the bid and get more. So this trade I wanted to bring up because it's just the exact opposite of what we had yesterday. So it's two really good examples of how to trade range breakouts and breakdowns. Yesterday we had the range breakout on RGSE, where it was grinding like this, and then it put in the higher low. It came up, tested the top. It was exactly like this. The only difference was it tested the top, came back, higher low, and then broke out like that. So this is the reason I'm bringing this up again is because it's such a common pattern, and it actually is a really great way to find out what side you want to be on in the late day. So if you get back from lunch at 1:15 or 1 o'clock, you should start scanning for stocks that are up on the day and stocks that are, so you use a scanner to find out what's up on the day up here, and then just find out find a couple that are kind of range bound like this, but have potential to move because of their percentage gain in the day. And then just try to find a clue in the channel here. So if it holds a higher low and it starts to grind, you can anticipate the breakout Or if it puts in a lower high and starts to look weak, you can anticipate the breakdown. One thing I just want to mention one more time that I think is really important, though, is that when it breaks the bottom of the range, is that it retests it and confirms the weakness, so you can add to the position and then let it go. Same goes for the long side. I'd like to see it break out, and then I want to see a retest and hold it. Show us that that prior resistance is now becoming support, okay? So we'll be keeping our eyes on those plays because they've been working quite well for the last week or so. I didn't get myself in on any of the morning upside momentum in AVXL, but there was a lot of good, for the longs out there, there was a lot of good opportunities this morning on, as I always say, guys, I like the first 2 9 EMA dips on momentum stocks. The third one I start to trust a little less, and then if you see a lower high, it often just sells off into 11 p.m. And then gets into a lunchtime grind. So this is pretty typical chart. And for AVXL, though, it's notoriously kind of a trashy stock with sketchy PRs and stuff like that. It doesn't make me want to short it on the front side. I've been talking a lot about the trading rules that we use and the ones that I use for myself, and how we kind of have our own set of rules depending on what type of trader you are and what you do. And I've just been focusing a little more on paying attention to those rules, and the results have been pretty good. So if you find that you're kind of slipping and you're letting yourself do stuff like over trading, or there's no long plays, and there's no long plays this afternoon, but yet you can't short anything, but you're still trying to catch falling knives and go long, just recognize it, that it's something that you shouldn't be doing, and just correct it as quickly as possible before it becomes a habit. They say that it takes 21 or 29, I think it's 21 days to make a habit, or 21 days to break a habit. So whatever you think that your trading needs work, whatever area you think you need work on, focus as hard as you can for 21 or up to 30 days on just correcting that issue, and eventually it'll just become habit to do the right thing again, okay? So AVXL was one of my favorites just because it goes right from what we talked about yesterday on the range breakouts from our GSE. A couple other plays. We had a short wedge pattern on OPTT. I know another short, it was late day, but this one I was watching it. I was watching it, if it started to hold over VWAP, I was going to like it long maybe. But on that last stuff, it kind of came down, put a lower high in. I was on the offer at 816, didn't fill me, chased it through 809. Shorted 809 on the short wedge here. That was OPTT, very straightforward. You guys know that pattern. You've seen the video lessons we have. So, what else was there today? I had a bit of an unfortunate for RGSE. I'm going to go over a little bit about this chart and a few points on it. I made the mistake of not reserving enough borrows on it. I've never seen Vision Clearing run out of borrows, and they actually ran out. So my plan was to not borrow too much in the mornings. I didn't want to get myself all jammed up in the front side. I promised myself I'd wait for the back, which was a lot easier, and I'm going to go over that in a minute. But yeah, so I only reserved a few to start, and then when I went to reserve the rest later, they were actually restricted. So that was kind of my mistake, and lesson learned there. If I'm sure it's going to be a short, I'm going to go ahead and just get them all at once. But yeah, so actually AVXL ended up being a better trade than this. So, but anyways, guys, what I wanted to talk about on RGSE was, well, if you remember this morning, there was this massive squeeze, and there was a lot of important levels that I was watching, but I just kept telling myself, don't short the front side of this one. It's just not worth it. And I'm going to continue to tell myself that. I'm going to continue to preach it, because look how easy this was. I mean, you could have even gotten this epic entry at like 698, which in hindsight, the stock's closing now at 475. So wow, we're talking about like a really nice 2-point plus trade. But would you have really held it? Like, you might have got stopped out right at the top there, lost your confidence, then finally got short on VWAP, and then stopped it out somewhere here because you're emotionally now attached to the loss and you just want to make it back. And that's the biggest issue. Now, everyone's going to be different in this sense, but that's the biggest thing about me and what I've learned about myself as a trader over 10 or 11 years, is that if I take a loss early on, I'm not going to be as aggressive with the winning trade, and I'm more likely to cover it for smaller gains. just to alleviate the pain of the loss from earlier. So it's super important for me as a trader to look for better entries, and particularly on stocks like this that are extra volatile, just to wait for the backside. That way it's easier. There's more clear stop out points. And yeah, I don't think I need to point this out, but look at this perfect, and I mean absolutely perfect, VWAP touch and reject. In my opinion, the best entry of the day wasn't here. It wasn't here. It was actually right here. Or through VWAP, through this, actually I really like this spot here, through the VWAP break, through 660, because that was prior support. So that was a good spot. And then when it ripped right through 50 EMA, super bearish. Especially like, let's go on the 5-minute chart really quick. Especially when we broke down the 50 EMA on the 5-minute, that's when the nail was really in the coffin here, just right through that. And ever since then, look how easy, I mean, there was one retest of this 50 EMA, still probably some heavy emotions in the stock, but ultimately this was just a beautiful 9 EMA trender all the way down today. So here's the thing, guys, like the plays today, there was a lot of good action out there. Don't sweat it. If you miss a few plays today, don't think it's the end of the world. There's going to be plenty more like this, guys. I think the market is finally going to start to pick back up. We're going to see a lot more, runners to the maybe not to the extent of RGSE, but like, we're seeing a lot of stuff just come to life today. SPU, OPTT kind of came out of left field. Well, I was kind of watching this one. It wasn't out of left field, but had a couple days it was coming up. Yeah, even SMIT, which was, man, a hell of a trade on the short side today. Or the long, if you got that cup and handle through 240. There was actually a hidden seller. I mentioned on the stream that there was a hidden seller at $3. They hit a bunch of shares in there, a bunch of early shorts. I think were about to get squeezed. I had a short order ready at 312, which I know is in the front side. But when we're this extended on the 9 EMA and it's only a small order just to get in, I'll make an exception for those certain situations. But everyone, like I said, should have their own set of rules that they follow and stuff like that. Okay, so yeah, guys, I'm definitely looking forward to continuing this action tomorrow. If you are trading outside the US and you want to start catching some of these shorts with me, we can get you set up with Trade Zero, but only if you're outside the US. Fire me a message or an email, jeff@livestreamtrading.com, and I'll set you up with a discount code for them as well. Other than that, guys, let's take a look at a couple stocks we'll be maybe watching for tomorrow. RGSE is probably going to be restricted, but if shares become available tomorrow, I'll be watching for a retest of this 50 EMA if we get a nice bounce, and or even 520 would be a great spot to watch out for. It was a prior support area we had from today, and I'd like to see it come back and retest that, and if it becomes resistance, it could give us a play. The way AEX did the other day, where 920 was our main area that we were watching from the prior day, and then it kind of just came right back up and gave us another short opportunity because, as we always say, the prior support tends to become resistance. So when it broke through that, it kind of just came out of left field and gave us another short opportunity. A couple, actually. This one went a little farther, but that 920 is still big resistance, and I like to pay attention to those levels from days on. So RGSE will keep an eye on 520, AVXL. This one I'll keep an eye for maybe a VWAP retest tomorrow and a reshort. There's been a hidden buyer at 412 for a long time now, for the last about 30 minutes or even an hour. Shit, he's been there just soaking up all the size. Maybe a VWAP retest and a reshort in AVXL is possible. SMIT just got absolutely crushed. Sad to say, I left a little bit on the table, quite a bit on the table on this one, but man, who would have saw this coming? That's awful. Just a total meltdown in SMIT this afternoon. Seed. Guys, here's one play I wanted to just go over really quick. This was the first trade I took this morning, and I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get that usual morning push to and then just look for the rejection and short a lower high. And there's so much meat on it if you can get that play, but unfortunately there's a lot of smart people that keep on Twitter that keep bashing these stocks pre-market, and people will catch on pretty quick, and then they break down early, and it makes it a lot more difficult to get a sizable trade on it. So this one I did keep the size down on, but I think one of the first things I said this morning as we started the live stream was I was just saying watch for that lower high bounce around 310. Didn't quite get there, got to 308, but I ended up smacking the bid, and it was just ended up being a really nice fader. My target was 60, and it actually bounced off 60 and then put in, as you can see, a little bit of a short wedge pattern there, and then broke down further. I mean, I wasn't, again, this was a really, it filled the whole gap. Which this was a super easy play today, and I just love easy plays. So hopefully we get a few more like that, seed, and I just ignored RRY all day. It had a morning spike and then rejected, and ever since day one I haven't been super interested in that. So guys, there's a few that we'll be watching for tomorrow, but obviously in the morning, as usual, we'll have a full watch list ready with the gappers and some trade plans going into tomorrow morning. All right guys, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.